A single act of kindness, a waitress's hug for a frightened little girl, sets off a chain of events that transforms her life forever, proving that one heartfelt moment can open the door to unimaginable change. Emma was used to long, tiring shifts. She had been working as a waitress at the cozy little cafe near the city center for almost 2 years. It was the kind of place that smelled like freshly baked bread and coffee, and it was always busy no matter what time of the day. Emma liked her job most of the time, but some days it felt like she was invisible. It's just another person behind the counter taking orders. Her hands were usually full with trays of food and drinks, and her mind full of calculations, how to get every order right without upsetting the customers. That morning had started like any other, with the cafe buzzing with people. A group of friends had already ordered their coffees, and a couple of businessmen were huddled in one corner with their laptops. Emma moved quickly between tables, carrying plates of eggs, pancakes, and toast, all while trying to keep her smile bright. She was good at what she did, and she liked making people happy. She knew that even a small smile or a kind word could make someone's day better, and that made her feel like her work mattered. Suddenly, a small commotion near the entrance caught her attention. A little girl had tripped on the edge of the rug and fallen forward. Emma's heart jumped. She didn't stop to think. She rushed over instinctively. Kneeling down, she gently helped the girl to her feet. "Are you okay?" she asked, brushing a strand of hair from the girl's face. The little girl's eyes filled with tears for a moment, but then she sniffled and nodded. Emma wrapped her arms around the girl in a soft hug, just enough to make her feel safe. It was a simple gesture, but it was enough to calm the child instantly. The little girl's father was standing a few steps away, observing everything with a quiet intensity. He was clearly not the kind of man you saw every day. There was a calm authority about him. His clothes were expensive, but not flashy. Emma noticed him, but she didn't have time to think much about who he might be. Her focus was on the girl, making sure she wasn't hurt and that her tears had stopped. "Thank you," the little girl said softly, looking up at Emma with a shy smile. Her voice was small, but full of sincerity. Emma smiled back, patting her gently on the shoulder. "It's okay. Be careful next time," she said kindly. The girl giggled a little, the sound light and musical, and for a moment, the cafe seemed a little calmer despite the morning rush. The father stepped forward then, his presence commanding, but not frightening. "She's okay?" he asked, his voice calm, but with a hint of relief. Emma nodded. "Yes, she's fine." "Just a little tumble," she said. He nodded and smiled faintly. There was a pause, just long enough for Emma to feel a little awkward. Usually people didn't linger after an accident like this. Most parents would just grab their child and leave quickly, but he stayed. Watching her with what seemed like genuine interest, Emma felt a small rush of warmth at his attention, but quickly pushed it aside. She had learned long ago not to let strangers' stares make her feel uncomfortable. She had bigger things to worry about, like keeping up with the orders piling up on the counter. A couple at the next table waved at her, asking for their check, and Emma hurried to attend to them, her hands shaking slightly from the adrenaline of the fall. Should just help prevent. As she moved back and forth between the tables, she couldn't help but notice the father again. He seemed calm, composed, and strangely observant. He watched the cafe, the customers, and especially the girl with careful attention. Emma tried to focus on her work, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he was noticing more than he let on. There was something about him that made her feel like she had done something important, even though all she had done was hug a little girl. After a few minutes, the father approached the counter. "You handled that very well," he said, his voice even but carrying a sense of respect. Emma blinked in surprise. Compliments were nice, but coming from him, it felt different. "Oh, it was nothing," she replied quickly, trying to sound casual. He smiled, a small, polite smile. "Sometimes, nothing can be very important," he said. There was a weight to his words that Emma didn't quite understand, but she felt it. The little girl tugged on his hand. "Daddy, can we get pancakes now?" she asked, bouncing slightly on her toes. He laughed softly, the sound rich and deep, and nodded. Emma stepped back, letting them go to a table. She watched them for a moment. The girl looked happy again, chatting and laughing, and the father's eyes followed her with a quiet tenderness. Emma felt a strange warmth in her chest, like she had been a part of something small, but meaningful. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Emma continued to serve customers, her movements automatic, but her mind kept drifting back to the father and his daughter. She wondered who they were, what their lives might be like. She knew it didn't matter much. She would probably never see them again. Yet a small spark of curiosity and excitement had been planted inside her. It was a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time, a mixture of pride and hope. As the cafe began to quiet down after the morning rush, Emma took a moment to catch her breath. She wiped her hands on her apron and leaned against the counter, thinking about the little girl's smile and the father's kind words. It had been a short encounter, nothing extraordinary on the surface, but it left a mark. Emma realized that sometimes the smallest actions could have the biggest effects. A hug, a kind word, or even just being present in a moment could matter more than she ever imagined. She didn't know it yet. But that one simple act of kindness, the hug she had given the little girl, was the first thread in a chain of events that would soon change her life. At that moment, she was just a waitress doing her job. Unaware of the curiosity and attention she had sparked in someone powerful and influential, but life had a way of noticing kindness, and sometimes it rewarded it in ways no one could predict. By the time Emma finished her shift and began to clean up, she felt a strange sense of anticipation. She couldn't explain why, but something about that morning felt different. It was as if the world had shifted slightly, like a door had quietly opened somewhere, waiting for her to walk through. And though she didn't yet know what the future held, she carried a quiet hope with her, a belief that maybe, just maybe, something good was about to happen. After that morning at the cafe, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the little girl and her father. Their visit had been brief, just a few minutes during a busy brunch rush, but it stayed in her mind. The little girl, Lily, had been so sweet and trusting, and her smile had been like sunshine breaking through a cloudy day. Emma remembered how soft the child's voice had sounded, how genuinely happy she seemed after the fall was over. It was a feeling Emma hadn't experienced in a long time. She often worked through her days feeling tired and unnoticed. But this small encounter had made her feel important. Back at home that evening, Emma sat on her small, creaky couch and thought about the man who had watched her so carefully. She wondered who he really was. He had seemed calm and confident, and yet there was a gentleness in the way he interacted with Lily. Emma had seen many people in her life, but few had left such a strong impression. She couldn't stop replaying the moment in her mind, imagining the father's eyes and the small smile he had given her. She tried to convince herself that it was just a polite gesture. It's nothing more, but a small part of her couldn't shake the curiosity. The next few days were busy at the cafe. Emma went about her routine, serving regular customers, carrying trays, taking orders, and trying not to burn the pancakes like she almost had once in her tiredness. But every time she saw a little child in the cafe, she remembered Lily's laugh. It reminded her of something deeper, something about kindness and care that went beyond money, status, or recognition. She realized that in a world full of rush and worry, simple moments of compassion could create connections stronger than anything else. Emma's thoughts were interrupted one afternoon when her phone buzzed. She saw an unfamiliar number and almost ignored it, assuming it was a wrong call. But curiosity got the better of her, and she answered. On the other end was a calm, polite voice, introducing himself as Mr. Harrington. Emma felt her heart skip a beat. She had barely noticed his name that day, but now it was real. He was calling her. He explained that he had been impressed by her kindness with Lily and wanted to speak to her about an opportunity. Emma blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. An opportunity? She asked, her voice hesitant. Mr. Harrington explained that he managed several businesses, including some high-end restaurants, and he had noticed something rare in her, genuine warmth, the ability to connect with people. He wasn't offering charity. He was offering a chance to learn, to grow, and perhaps even work alongside him in a setting where her talents could shine. Emma felt a mix of excitement and disbelief. She had never imagined that a small act like hugging a little girl could lead to something like this. Over the next few days, Emma couldn't focus on anything else. She tried to work her shifts at the cafe as usual, but her mind kept wandering. She thought about what it would be like to enter a world so different from her own. She imagined the mansions, the high-end restaurants, the people who moved in a different circle of life. And yet, she reminded herself that she had always dreamed of doing more, of learning and growing in hospitality. This could be her chance. The morning of her first meeting with Mr. Harrington arrived. Emma dressed carefully, choosing something simple but neat, feeling nervous about being in an unfamiliar environment. She arrived at a sleek, modern office where she was greeted by a receptionist and guided to a waiting area. Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she sat there, thinking about what she would say. She had never been in a place like this before, surrounded by polished furniture, soft lighting, and quiet efficiency. She felt small, but she reminded herself that she had something unique: her kindness and authenticity. When Mr. Harrington entered the room, Emma was struck again by his calm confidence. He was tall, impeccably dressed, and carried an air of authority without arrogance. He smiled warmly at her, and Emma felt a small wave of reassurance. They began to talk, first casually about her experience at the cafe, and then about her ambitions and dreams. Emma spoke honestly about her struggles, her love for hospitality, and her desire to make a difference in people's lives through her work. Mr. Harrington listened carefully, nodding occasionally, asking thoughtful questions. Emma was surprised at how genuinely interested he seemed. He asked her about Lily, and Emma smiled, remembering the little girl's laugh and trust. "She's wonderful," Emma said softly. "She reminded me of why small gestures matter." Mr. Harrington nodded, clearly understanding what she meant. "It's rare to meet someone who notices these things," he said. "Most people are too busy chasing something else. You, however, see people." Emma felt a small blush rise to her cheeks. She wasn't used to being noticed in such a meaningful way. After their talk, Mr. Harrington suggested that she could join one of his upcoming events to gain experience. It wasn't a paid job yet, just an opportunity to learn, but it was a door opening that Emma hadn't imagined. She left the office feeling a mixture of excitement, nervousness, and disbelief. The city's streets seemed different now, almost brighter. Emma couldn't help but think about how a simple hug could lead to something that might change her life. Over the next week, Emma prepared herself for the event. She practiced her service skills, planned her outfits, and imagined how she would interact with guests. She was nervous about meeting so many people from a different world, but she also felt determined. She reminded herself that she belonged wherever kindness and skill mattered, and she had both in abundance. On the day of the event, she arrived early, carrying her small bag and a heart full of anticipation. The mansion was even more impressive than she had imagined, with tall doors, polished floors, and a view that took her breath away. Emma's nerves were strong at first, but the sight of Lily rushing to greet her with a big smile eased her tension. The little girl grabbed her hand, and Emma laughed softly, feeling a warmth she hadn't known she needed as the event began. Emma moved among the guests, serving with grace and attention to detail. She noticed that people responded to her kindness, to the way she genuinely cared for those around her. Mr. Harrington watched from a distance, a quiet pride in his eyes. He had expected skill, but what struck him more was her heart. Emma wasn't just performing a task, she was creating a positive energy in the room, making everyone feel at ease. By the end of the evening, Emma was exhausted but exhilarated. She realized that she had been given a glimpse into a world she had never known, and it felt like more than just an opportunity, it felt like a calling. Mr. Harrington approached her one last time before leaving, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You did well," he said. "There's potential in you, Emma. Don't waste it." Emma nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and awe. She had no idea how her life might change, but she knew this was the beginning of something new. Walking home that night, Emma thought about the chain of events that had led her here. A simple hug, a caring gesture, it had sparked curiosity, opened a door, and started a journey she never could have imagined. She realized that life had a strange way of noticing the good we do, even in small, quiet moments. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt hopeful. She had a chance not just to survive, but to thrive, to grow, and to create a future she had once only dreamed about. Emma woke up that morning with a mix of nerves and excitement she had never felt before. Today was the day she was going to her first real experience working with Mr. Harrington. It wasn't a permanent job yet, just an opportunity to help at a private event he was hosting at his mansion. But for Emma, it felt like stepping into another world. She had spent the last week preparing herself, thinking about what she might encounter and how she could do her best. Every detail mattered to her, from her uniform to her attitude, every smile, every polite word. When she arrived at the mansion, she was struck by its size and beauty. The driveway was long, lined with tall trees, and the house itself looked like something out of a magazine. She took a deep breath and reminded herself to stay calm. She carried her small bag and kept her shoulders straight, trying not to appear nervous, even though her heart was racing. The gate opened, and a valet greeted her with a polite nod. She followed the pathway, her shoes clicking softly on the polished stone, till she reached the grand entrance. Inside, the mansion was even more impressive. High ceilings, elegant chandeliers, and expensive artwork filled the rooms. Emma felt small and a little out of place, but she quickly reminded herself that she was there to do her job. She had been given a chance, and she would make the most of it. A staff member approached her and introduced herself, showing Emma where she would be working and explaining the schedule for the evening. Emma listened carefully, memorizing the layout, the names of the guests she would serve, and the timing of each course, as guests began to arrive. Emma's nervousness grew, but so did her determination. The crowd was different from anything she had experienced before. People in elegant dresses and tailored suits moved gracefully through the rooms, sipping champagne and speaking in polite, soft voices. Emma reminded herself that she was not there to impress anyone with money or status, but with her skill, her kindness, and her genuine presence. She remembered what Mr. Harrington had told her people notice: authenticity more than anything else. The first challenge came quickly. A guest spilled a glass of wine on the tablecloth, and Emma rushed to help discreetly. She grabbed a clean cloth and apologized softly, making sure the guest felt comfortable. The person smiled and nodded, appreciating her quick response. Emma felt a small wave of confidence. She realized that her experience at the cafe managing chaos, calming upset customers, and staying attentive was preparing her perfectly for this environment. Lily. The little girl ran to her side as soon as she arrived, holding her hand and skipping along happily. "Emma, look at this place," she whispered, her eyes wide with excitement. Emma laughed softly, feeling warmth in her heart. She glanced at Mr. Harrington, who watched from across the room with a quiet smile. He didn't say anything, but his expression showed that he noticed how naturally Emma connected with Lily. It was a connection that couldn't be taught, one that came from genuine care and attention. Throughout the evening, Emma moved gracefully among the guests, serving appetizers and drinks. She made small talk where appropriate, always polite, always attentive, and always genuine. People responded positively to her energy, commenting on her warmth and professionalism. Some were curious about her background, and she answered politely, never pretending to be someone she was not. Each interaction reminded her that she belonged in this space because of who she was, not because of what she owned or what connections she had. The event had its high points and challenges. At one point, a tray of hors d'oeuvres almost tipped over, but Emma caught it just in time, saving the food and avoiding embarrassment for the staff. Another guest asked for a special drink not on the menu, and Emma carefully prepared it, asking polite questions to ensure it was perfect. Every small action mattered, and Emma realized that her attention to detail, combined with her kindness, made a real difference in the atmosphere of the event. Guests felt comfortable and happy, and that was largely because of her presence. Mr. Harrington observed quietly as Emma moved through the crowd. He noticed how she handled pressure, how she smiled even when she was tired, and how she treated everyone with respect, regardless of their status. It was rare for him to see someone who was completely unpretentious in such an environment. Most people were either nervous, pretending to be more than they were, or trying too hard to fit in. Emma didn't try. She was herself, and that authenticity shone through in every interaction. At one point, Mr. Harrington approached her privately, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. "You're doing very well," he said quietly. "It's more than skill, it's how you make people feel. That is something money can't buy." Emma felt a blush rise to her cheeks but nodded, grateful for his acknowledgement. It was the first time in her life someone had noticed her effort in a way that went beyond mere competence. It felt meaningful, almost life-changing, as the evening progressed. Emma found herself enjoying the work more than she had expected. Despite the pressure, the unfamiliar faces, and the grand surroundings, she felt alive in a way she hadn't felt behind the cafe counter. She realized that this was what she wanted, not just to serve food, but to create experiences, to make people feel welcome and cared for. It wasn't about impressing the wealthy or climbing social ladders. It was about doing her job with heart. That made all the difference. By the end of the night, the event was winding down. Guests were leaving, thanking the staff for a wonderful evening, and complimenting Emma personally for her professionalism and warmth. She was exhausted, but the exhaustion was different from the tiring shifts at the cafe. This was the kind of tired that came from doing something meaningful, from pushing herself and succeeding in a new environment. She felt proud, and for the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future that was bigger than anything she had dared to dream. After the last guest left, Mr. Harrington spoke to Emma one final time. "I hope you understand the potential I see in you," he said softly. "You handled everything tonight with grace and heart. I would like to explore opportunities for you to grow within my companies if you're willing." Emma felt a mix of disbelief and excitement. She nodded, unable to find words at first, then managed to say, I would be honored." Walking home that night, Emma replayed the evening in her mind. She thought about every detail, the way the guests responded, how Lily had clung to her hand, how Mr. Harrington had watched quietly but approvingly. She realized that this night had changed something inside her. She had stepped out of her comfort zone into a world she had never imagined, and had succeeded not because of luck, but because of her own character, her attention to detail, and her kindness. She also realized that life had a strange but beautiful way of noticing small acts. A hug, a smile, a caring gesture had brought her here. It was almost like the universe had rewarded her for something she had done without thinking, something that had come naturally. Emma felt hopeful, energized, and more determined than ever. She knew the road ahead would have challenges, but she also knew she had the heart and resilience to meet them. That night, she lay in bed. She thought about her future. She pictured herself working alongside Mr. Harrington, learning, growing, and creating experiences for people. She pictured herself mentoring others one day, passing on the same warmth and care that had gotten her this far. Most of all, she remembered Lily's laughter and the hug that had started it all. It was a reminder that even the smallest acts could ripple outward, creating possibilities that seemed impossible at first. For the first time in a long while, Emma didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, appreciated, and capable. And in that feeling, she found a new sense of purpose. She knew that her life was on the edge of changing, and she was ready to step fully into the opportunities that awaited her, guided by the same kindness and authenticity that had brought her here. Emma's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. After the event at Mr. Harrington's mansion, he invited her to join his hospitality company on a trial basis. It wasn't a full-time position yet, but it was a chance to learn the business from the inside. Emma was nervous at first, unsure if she could fit into such a different world. She had spent years working at small cafes, dealing with everyday customers and juggling multiple tasks at once, but now she was entering an environment filled with luxury, high expectations, and people who had never experienced her world. Her first day with the company was early in the morning. Emma arrived at a sleek office building, feeling both excitement and a little fear. The receptionist greeted her warmly. She was shown to a small office where she would meet her mentor, Mr. Harrington's assistant. A friendly woman named Claire explained Emma's schedule and the different departments she would rotate through. Emma listened carefully, trying to absorb every detail. She was determined to prove herself, not just to Mr. Harrington, but to herself. The first few days were challenging. Emma was assigned to help organize events, communicate with clients, and assist in managing staff. Everything was faster, more precise, and more complicated than what she was used to. She made a few small mistakes at first, mislabeling a table setting, forgetting a minor detail, but she learned quickly. Her colleagues were polite but cautious. They weren't used to someone with her background entering their world. Emma felt the weight of their skepticism, but she refused to let it discourage her. She reminded herself that skill, patience, and kindness could break down even the most rigid barriers. One afternoon, Emma was asked to help set up a private dinner for an important client. The room had to be perfect, the lighting just right, the silver polished, the flowers arranged elegantly. Emma worked carefully, arranging each detail with precision. It was exhausting, but she found herself enjoying the challenge. She liked seeing the transformation of a simple room into a welcoming, beautiful space. By the time Mr. Harrington arrived to inspect the setup, everything was ready. He walked through the room quietly, observing her work, and finally gave a small nod of approval. "Well done, Emma," he said simply. That small acknowledgement meant the world to her. As Emma became more involved in the company, she also grew closer to Lily. The little girl loved spending time with Emma, often calling her during the week or asking her to visit for short outings. Emma felt like a part of their family, something she had never expected. Lily confided in her about school, friends, and little worries that only a child could have. Emma listened patiently, offering advice or comfort, always careful to be genuine. Through these moments, Emma realized that her connection with the Harrington family wasn't just professionally, was personal. Built on trust and care, Emma also began to see the differences between her world and the world she had entered. Some colleagues were skeptical of her abilities, whispering doubts about whether someone from her background could handle the responsibilities of high-end hospitality. But Emma never let their words affect her. She focused on doing her job well, learning quickly, and staying positive. Her resilience and dedication began to speak louder than any skepticism. Gradually, the colleagues who had doubted her started to respect her. They noticed how she remained calm under pressure, how she treated every client and colleague with respect, and how she handled problems efficiently. One of the biggest challenges came when she was asked to coordinate a charity gala. It was a massive event with hundreds of guests, including high-profile figures. Emma felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, knowing that any mistake could have serious consequences. She spent days planning every detail, from the seating arrangements to the menu and entertainment. On the night of the event, she worked tirelessly, moving between the kitchen, the dining room, and the guest areas, making sure everything went smoothly. By the end of the night, the gala had been a success. Guests complimented her on her organization and poise, and even Mr. Harrington seemed quietly pleased. Emma felt a sense of accomplishment she had never experienced before. Despite the long hours and challenges, Emma found herself thriving. She loved the sense of purpose, the chance to grow, and the knowledge that her hard work was being recognized. She realized that this opportunity wasn't just about financial stability, it was about building confidence, learning new skills, and discovering what she was truly capable of. The world that had once seemed distant and unattainable was becoming a place where she could belong. Not because of wealth or status, but because of her talent, dedication. In character, through all of this, Lily remained a constant source of joy. The little girl's presence reminded Emma why she had started this journey to connect with people, to make a difference in small ways, and to approach life with kindness. They spent afternoons together reading, exploring parks, or simply talking about their days. Emma found that these moments were just as important as her professional achievements. They grounded her, reminding her that life wasn't just about work. Wealth, or success, it was about relationships, trust, and genuine care. As Emma's confidence grew, so did her responsibilities. Mr. Harrington began entrusting her with more important tasks, including training new staff and managing events with less supervision. Each time he acknowledged her work, it reinforced her belief in herself. She realized that he wasn't just helping her because of a single act of kindness. He saw potential in her and was giving her the tools to reach it. This understanding motivated Emma to work even harder, to continue learning, and to embrace every challenge as an opportunity. By the end of her first few months, Emma had transformed in ways she never imagined. She had developed new skills, gained confidence, and learned to navigate a world that once felt intimidating. She had proven to herself and to others that her background didn't define her abilities. More importantly, she had built meaningful relationships, particularly with Lily and Mr. Harrington, who had become mentors and friends. Emma felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunities she had been given, and for the kindness that had started it all. As she reflected on her journey, Emma realized that her life was no longer the same. The simple hug she had given Lily weeks ago had set in motion a series of events that changed everything. She had stepped into a new world, faced challenges, grown stronger, and discovered a sense of purpose she had never known. Her life was no longer just about getting by it. It was about thriving, learning, and making a positive impact on those around her. For Emma, the most important lesson was clear. Small acts of kindness could lead to extraordinary opportunities. By being genuine, compassionate, and dedicated, she had opened doors that she once thought were impossible. And as she looked forward to the future, she felt ready to continue this journey, confident that she could face whatever challenges came her way, while staying true to herself and the values that had brought her this far. Months passed, and Emma's life looked completely different from the one she had known before. The small cafe where she once worked long, tiring shifts now felt like a distant memory. Every morning she woke up with a sense of purpose and excitement instead of dread. Her days were busy, but she enjoyed every moment of them. She worked for Mr. Harrington's company full-time now, managing events, training new employees, and helping design experiences that brought joy to guests. It was everything she had ever dreamed of but never thought. She could have heard her coworkers, who had once doubted her, now respected her. They saw how hardworking and genuine she was, how she always stayed calm under pressure and treated everyone with kindness. Emma had earned her place not because of luck, but because of her effort and heart. Mr. Harrington often said she reminded him of how success should be built, not on connections or wealth, but on character. Those words stayed with her, and she worked every day to live up to them. Emma had also grown close to Lily, who had become like a little sister to her. They spent weekends together baking, going to parks, or visiting local festivals. Lily adored Emma and often told everyone that she was her best friend. Their bond was natural and strong, built on love and trust. Sometimes Mr. Harrington would watch them from a distance, smiling softly. He often said that Emma had brought light into his daughter's life. Before meeting her, Lily had been shy and a bit lonely, but with Emma around, she had become more confident and happy. Emma felt equally grateful for them. Mr. Harrington had not just given her a job, he had given her a chance to grow, to believe in herself again, and to discover what she was truly capable of. She admired him deeply, not just for his success, but for his humility and kindness. Despite being a billionaire, he treated people with respect and fairness. He had seen something in Emma when no one else had, and that belief had changed her life forever. One morning, Mr. Harrington called Emma into his office. She felt a little nervous, wondering if she had made a mistake, but his expression was calm and warm. He gestured for her to sit and said, "Emma, I've been watching your progress closely. You've done exceptional work. You've managed teams, handled difficult clients, and shown leadership that goes beyond your position. I think it's time we make things official." Emma blinked, unsure what he meant. He smiled and continued, "I'd like to promote you to assistant event director." Emma gasped softly. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. That position was something she had dreamed of, something she thought would take years to reach. I don't know what to say," she stammered. Mr. Harrington chuckled lightly. "Say yes," he said. Emma laughed, her eyes shining with emotion, and nodded. "Yes, of course. Thank you so much." It felt like a dream come true. The promotion came with more responsibilities, but Emma was ready. She began overseeing larger projects, mentoring junior staff, and making important decisions. There were days when the work was hard, and she had to stay late or deal with stressful situations, but she handled it all with grace. Whenever things got difficult, She reminded herself how far she had come from the girl serving coffee in a small cafe to a respected professional leading major events. Every step had been worth it. Her success didn't change her personality. Emma remained humble and kind. She never forgot the people who helped her along the way, and she often went out of her way to help others. She started mentoring new employees, especially those who came from modest backgrounds like hers. She wanted them to know that hard work and sincerity could take them anywhere. She would tell them, "It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is how much heart you put into what you do." Emma's bond with Lily also grew stronger. Sometimes, after long days at work, she would stop by the Harrington home for dinner. They would laugh, share stories, and talk about their days. Lily loved hearing about Emma's work and often said she wanted to be like her when she grew up. Those words always made Emma emotional. She never thought she could be someone's role model. But now she realized that her story could inspire others. One evening, while they were sitting in the garden after dinner, Mr. Harrington spoke softly. "You know, Emma, when I saw you comfort Lily that day in the cafe, I didn't just see a kind waitress. I saw someone special, someone who acts from the heart. Most people would have walked past, but you didn't hesitate to help. That moment told me everything I needed to know about you." Emma smiled, remembering that day vividly. "I didn't think much of it," she said. "It just felt like the right thing to do." Mr. Harrington nodded. "And that's exactly why it mattered." Those words stayed with Emma long after that night. She realized that life had a way of rewarding genuine acts even when we least expect it. A simple hug had changed everything. It had brought her new opportunities, friendships, and a career she loved. It had shown her that kindness, no matter how small, could open doors in ways she never imagined. As months turned into a year, Emma's career continued to flourish. She traveled to different cities to manage events, met new people, and gained respect in the industry. People admired her for her professionalism and warmth. Yet no matter how far she went, she never forgot her roots. She still visited the small cafe where she used to work, sometimes surprising her old coworkers with coffee and laughter. They were proud of her success, and she often reminded them that dreams really could come true if you believed in yourself. One day, during a large charity event that Emma helped organize, she stood quietly in the back of the room, watching the guests laugh and enjoy themselves. The lights were soft, music filled the air, and everything looked perfect. Mr. Harrington came to stand beside her and said, "You've done it again. It's beautiful." Emma smiled, her heart full. "Thank you," she said softly. "It's amazing how life works. Sometimes one small moment changes everything." He nodded in agreement, his eyes warm with pride. "It's not luck, Emma. It's you. You changed your own life by being who you are." That night, as Emma walked home, she thought about everything that had happened. From a struggling waitress to a respected professional, her journey had been full of surprises, challenges, and lessons. She had learned that kindness was powerful, that courage could open doors, and that believing in yourself could transform your future at home. She looked at a photo on her shelf, a picture of her, Lily, and Mr. Harrington taken at one of their family dinners. They were all smiling, and Emma felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her life had not just improved financially. It had gained meaning. She had found people who believed in her work she loved, and a sense of purpose she had never known before. She sat by her window, looking out at the city lights, and smiled to herself. Sometimes, the biggest changes in life begin with the smallest moments. A simple act of kindness, a hug, a smile. For Emma, that moment had started in a cafe with a little girl's fall and a caring hug. She had no idea that it would lead to everything she had ever dreamed of and more. Her story was proof that when you act with heart, life has a way of noticing. And even when you least expect it, kindness can return to you in ways far greater than you ever imagined. Emma had hugged a little girl out of compassion, and in return, life had embraced her with opportunity. Love and hope, a reminder that one small act can truly change everything.